Okay, today I wanted to talk about Ninja Kamui, which is technically it counts as an anime. I don't know what the exact ruling on that is, but it's produced by Adult Swim. Probably just the American version is done by Adult Swim. But essentially, what it is it's a fairly traditional revenge story. My old professor used to call these genre fiction. This is kind of a pretty straightforward story, and I kind of just wanted to talk about it and kind of offer some solutions and probably possibly some different angles that you could retell the story from to try and make it a little bit more varied. Because right now the story is pretty okay. We're gonna say it's okay to meh. The characters are okay. Okay. And then the real pull is the action is fantastic, basically. That's the reason why the show is probably as well received as it is because it's just really, really fun to watch. And that's kind of okay because it understands what it's trying to do. So let me go ahead and kind of get you guys up to speed as far as where we're at and what the setting for the story is, and then we'll talk about some variations that we can do and kind of what other options we might want to try with. So, story starts off with a guy in a business suit, so we'll call him business suit guy, and he's being attacked by ninja assassins. And he's fighting them off, and it's basically like 30 gazillion assassins versus him. And they're in this kind of like city area in the middle of the street, and it's kind of futuristic because all the ninja assassins kind of have this like helmet thing that they're kind of running off of, and then it kind of like this, and then they have the necks, and they're all wearing these like kind of suits, but they have these like three red eye dot things. And then they're kind of going out to the rest of the body. And they've got all kind of metal weapons. They've got like the needles that they throw. They've got ninja swords, kind of all these different things. And then they're more or less led. The leader is a guy. I don't remember his name. We're gonna call him Dreads. I think he's Reaper. He's like maybe Reaper is what his name is. But he's kind of the leader of these guys, and you can tell he's the leader because he doesn't have the mask. So he's got everything but no mask. So he just got his face from there. So they're all kind of attacking business suit guy, who obviously is no normal business suit guy. And so he's fighting, they're fighting, and then basically you can kind of get the idea that he's doing good. He's killing a whole bunch of them. There's lots of blood, blood splatter, kind of akin to the Akira Kurosawa blood splatter classic. And so they're doing all this, and then suddenly, though, Reaper moves in, the villain, or he looks pretty villainy. We're pretty sure he's the villain. You can kind of tell. He's pretty brutal and pretty villainous. And he kills Business Suit Guy. And there's like, you thought you could hide from us. Bleh. And then he basically dies. And he's kind of, I think they do it where he's more or less headless at one point because they've taken off his head. Let's see. Yeah. Let me draw him. All right, so they kill him by ripping his head off. I think they have this like giant, or large metal wire that they end up like wrapping around his head and pulling it down. So he ends up getting decapitated and it's blood everywhere. But it's really good action. So this is kind of how we're starting off. This is a good way to start a show because what we have is we have a lot of action. We're immediately asked to pick a side anytime you suddenly engage where you have one guy versus 30 guys basically. You're asked to pick a side of who do you take, whose side do you take. And on the 30 guy, we have villainous. They look all scary and villainous and kind of evil and to that degree. Like, they're not exactly, these upstanding citizens that we're led to believe. And so we kind of are taking this side, which means we're taking the side against these people. So, this is for and then against, which is good in the first 5 minutes of the show. And we have great action scenes, so this is what is designed to pull the audience in, which it works. It does great. Again, I made it past episode 1. For a lot of people, you may not think that's an achievement, but that is the most important achievement for your show is episode 1, because it doesn't matter how good episode 2 is. If you can't get past episode 1, you don't get the time of day. So they're fighting off this, and then Business Suit Guy, then he dies, and then it moves on, basically. And then we're introduced to I kept thinking, it is always funny to me sometimes when the Japanese animate the average American family, because I always look a little bit off. It is kind of funny, but basically we're then introduced to your average Viking family. And Viking family because the guy looks like a Viking. So he's a normal family doing normal people things, you know, like celebrating birthdays, parties, cooking, just being a family. And we're getting introduced to our main character. And throughout this kind of normal sequence is, and again, just to give you guys an idea, this is probably about 5 minutes, I think, 5 minutes into the show. Just so you can understand and get a feel for like time scale. Because what you want is you want to go, okay, well, where does the cool action sequence that's designed to pull the audience, where does that come in at? If it comes in at 25 minutes into your 30-minute episode, that maybe is too late. That's the reason why a lot of these shows will start off very in. They'll throw you into the middle of the thing and then explain later because they want to get you interested into the mystery. So here, and then I think this is about 5 to 15 minutes is going to be the next sequence. And, or maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe it's like 5 to 10 minutes, somewhere around there. They're doing normal people things. Basically, you have a dad, and then you have a mother, and then you have a son from there. And what you have is they're kind of going about normal life, but then the dad is on really high alert, basically. He's got cameras everywhere, and there's just this building tension. And then they start talking about business suit guy who's just been killed, and he goes, and basically you feel like the main character knows him, and you're introducing this idea of, oh, this may happen to him, and when is it going to happen to him? This is the kind of the if and when tension starts to build up, because we're pretty sure our main character is going to get attacked by ninja assassins led by dreadlock guy, but we don't know. But we're just waiting. And this is where the tension, and so the tensions, the design for the tension is to get us through the quote unquote boring part, basically. So this is where we're doing normal things. So like washing dishes, being happy with your family, really, really boring stuff. Birthday, mowing the lawn. You're doing all this stuff in the shadow of, basically, we may be attacked. We may be attacked by ninja assassins. So this is what you're kind of doing. You're using this tension to kind of get the audience into kind of the quote-unquote boring part. This is, your vegetables. Not exactly the exciting part or anything like that. You're just using them to introduce that. So they're going about being a normal family when suddenly our worst fears happen. He's under attack. So basically his house is under attack and he starts killing them. And we're starting to build up. It's kind of the similar story to Business Suit Guy, where you're vastly outnumbered and he's doing pretty good. And then all of a sudden he's starting to kill all of them. He's really good. Turns out he's maybe even better than Business Suit Guy. And then he hears a scream from, I think, his wife or his kid or something. And he runs upstairs and then sees Dreads has killed them both. And because of this, there's an opening and our main character gets hit and dies. He goes down. And so this is kind of where we're introduced. But suddenly then we're found out, on a table more or less later, that turns out he's not actually dead. Here's the covers for the body on the mortuary table. Normally. And then you get introduced, and then it turns out he's awake, and then he goes to the hospital. Because obviously he's very, very injured. He's injured very heavily because he was almost killed, and they thought he was killed, and he basically was died. So this is kind of a good hook. Possibly something could come back later as to why he actually survived. Maybe somebody's keeping him alive somehow, doing some mysterious people anime thing that, you really could have just a 2-second conversation to explain, but we're not going to. I'm making fun of it, but it could work. It would be good. You could have somebody who's like looking out for the main character or rooting for him or wants to use him in some capacity down the road. That's something that you could pull from. Either way, though, he's in the hospital, he's healing. And so then we introduce to our other characters, which are the cops. These are the cops. This is kind of their job is more or less to come behind the main character and make him seem any even more cool, and also to add another angle and more plot and stuff like that. Because again, if you want to have a strong main character, it really helps to have someone to compare him to. So these play the role of normal people. And so you can have normal people alongside the super extreme ninja assassin people. So they can kind of this heightened skill level difference basically from there. I thought somebody online had a good suggestion for professional swimming or running basically, and it was to have a regular normal guy running alongside them just so you could see how much better the professionals were, because it's kind of one of those things where you're like, wow, these guys are all kind of about the same speed, but you don't understand how fast they're going until you're actually there and you're beginning to understand it. But then also, if you have a normal guy, so we'll put the pros up here and we'll put normal guy. Normal guy here. Once you kind of get this understanding of, hey, this is where the normal people kind of look like, you can have a better understanding of how fast these people are going. Because all of these guys are really fast, but compared to each other, one of them is just like 1/100th of a second faster. Of course, that makes all the difference, and that's the guy who gets the gold medal from there. But there's no understanding, there's no reality. You have to base it in something that the audience can understand, which is why it helps to have normal people characters, which these are the cops who play this. So they're going to investigating the family's murder. It's a pretty brutal murder, blood everywhere. And of course, all the ninjas, their bodies have been taken away, so nobody knows really what's going on. So our main character is in the hospital, and the cops are now going to watch him because this seems pretty suspicious. Because how is he alive? How did he live? What happened? He says he doesn't remember what's going on. So then the main character then is, he knows, of course, something that the cops don't know. So he goes up to the roof of the hospital to just chill, basically. And lo and behold, he's attacked again by all the ninja assassins, basically. And this time, though, something seems to be different. He's activating his rage bonus points. And again, this is good from the audience perspective, because we're like, good, bad guys are back. We're going to kill that guy, because it's the revenge aspect. We really do want revenge, because this is something that, it's pretty brutal to watch the guy's family get killed. His little son is like 6 or 8, it's quite a brutal attack, and we want revenge. And this is kind of what we're enjoying this whole thing to play out. We want to see this play out where he gets revenge on the guys who murdered his whole family. And this is kind of what is the driving motivation, because when you want to have a main character go on a killing spree, you have to have you have to set it up right, or else you feel a little bit icky for cheering on a killing spree. So usually you have to have a motive. So it has to be righteous. You want a righteous motive to kill everyone. This is what Django Unchained does really well, is these people are all slavers. No one's really going to care if they die. In fact, you even want them to get killed. A lot of them, you're not, there's some of them that are just there taking advantage of everything, but they're not really the cause of it. However, we don't really have any sympathy for them. The other thing is righteousness and moral righteousness. And then the other one is, of course, the motive. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to go kill a bunch of innocent people. So you want to go kill people who have it coming. And this is the reason why self-defense always works really well, because, you attacked me. So now I can attack you. And this is what's going to provide the bulkhead of motivation for the show, is now the whole show is going to be an act of self-defense. So he's going to go to wherever the ninja assassins are hiding and go self-defense them to death, basically. He's going to start going after them at some point, theoretically. But as far as it goes, this is what you need. And then as an audience member, you can guilt-free watch him go on a slaughter fest. And it's great, because we love action, we love the killing, we love all this stuff, and we love seeing the bad guys get what they deserve. And this is kind of what the whole show is building towards. So he's fighting them all off. He turns out he's really good. He's so good that he basically kills all of them and kills Dreads. Dang it. Focus. He kills basically all of them, and then he kills Dreads from there, and then disappears. And then this is where you learn that it turns out they were all wearing disguises, and that our Viking Viking normal family wasn't actually a Viking family. They were a Japanese family disguised as normal American. I don't know how to spell disguise. A normal Viking family living in America. They were just hiding out basically, but they were in fact a Japanese family because this turns out is from his past. So this is basically setting the stage. And again, for Dreads, he'll say something ominous like, we'll always find you. We'll find you again. You'll never escape. And this is ominous, of course, but it also sets up the stage for the main character to leave his life behind. Again, we have to explain why the main character is leaving his boring, normal, happy life that everyone actually wants to go for that life that nobody wants, but everyone wants to watch, which is where he goes on a killing spree, murdering people, killing people, all the people part of this ninja assassin group. This is what we're after. So this kind of sets the stage for the plot. This is kind of the episode 1 and sets kind of everything else is going to exist in the shadow of this. And there's an aspect of it where it works. So it's good. Which of course, anything that works is by definition good. Because if you can get the audience to care, again, I'm going to be a little bit picky about this show. The reason why is because it has the potential to be more than what it is. However, it is a lot better than most shows. That's kind of one thing to remember, is that it's not exactly like, we're not talking like a 4 or 5 or anything. I would say for me personally, it may be like 6 or 7 as far as the points go on the point scale. 7s are really good. Getting a 7 is really good. Giving an 8 is amazing. For show. So it's pretty good. It's not one that I will probably rewatch over and over again, but then again, that action is pretty awesome, and that's something that you can continually build off and innovate with. That is really, really good, that the show is doing a really amazing job with. But this is kind of the problem that you run in with stories like this, is because it's like, great, you've got another family that you've just introduced to kill off. It's nothing really that imaginative. Let me find some clean space. Here we go. It's nothing really new, basically. There's nothing new that it's doing anything with. This is kind of what I talked about with John Wick, that John Wick did something new because it wasn't the wife who died. It was the wife's last gift, a.k.a. the dog, who gets killed. And it kind of is silly, but also it's emotional, because you get a lot of, it's new. It's kind of a parody aspect where it's relying on the fact that we're all expecting the wife to be the one to be killed, but it turns out she just dies of cancer or some disease that you don't really know about. And it's tragic and it's not good, but then you have this last gift, this last shot at returning to a normal life, and then it's killed in this just random act of brutality. And it's just not good. And it's just like, oh man, this really sucks. And that's how it goes. But it works. It works because we're okay. We didn't expect it. So it's new. We've seen gazillions of families get set up to be murdered, basically. It's kind of boring in an aspect of it. This is what one of my issues with Big Hero 6, I think, is the brother. He's perfect. He's amazing. He's actually so perfect that he couldn't possibly exist for any other reason than to get killed. This is what X-Men did. X-Men Days of Future Past, I think. No. X-Men Apocalypse. X-Men Apocalypse did this where... Magneto, you're in the middle of the movie, they build up Magneto's family and they're getting arrested, and then suddenly, they bring bows and arrows and they shoot him, end up accidentally, murdering his whole family, and then he goes insane. And this is kind of justification for Magneto to then do Magneto things. This is what you're building up and building towards. And it's okay. It's just okay. That's kind of the problem with it, is that it's just okay. It's nothing new, nothing innovative. It's just okay. We've seen it before, it's really hard to do something like this in a new way. This is an aspect of it. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones we talked about. The Equalizer's one where he doesn't have a family. He doesn't have anything to lose, so he uses other characters, basically. There's other characters that you slowly grow to care about, and that's what kind of builds into and builds up towards to show off what the other to act as motivation for going out and killing people. That could have been it. Maybe he was staying with another family, but it kind of follows the same route. But you can get some ways where it's a little bit there are things you can do that are different to kind of make the plot work a little bit. But this is kind of the tricky part, because again, the trickiest part is because whatever else you do has to work. It must work. There can't be any sort of issue regarding that. So there's a few options you could do as far as it goes. Again, John Wick does an amazing one, because again, this is the reason why it's just an action movie. There's nothing else, but this plot point was brilliant, and this is what made the movie. This is what made the movie stand out from all the other movies, basically from there. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to find a new revenge element. And it's tricky because again, all of this does what it is. Again, remember, if you want to go on a killing spree, you can't go against a killing spree against somebody who mildly inconveniences your family or who mildly does something. They have to cross a line, a strong line that they cross, basically. And then once they crossed it, anything you do to them is justified. And this is kind of what we see. So again, it's a pretty good show, kind of a good introduction episode. We'll be watching more of it, and I'm curious to see where it goes and probably talk a little bit more about it from there. So I appreciate all y'all. I will see you guys in the next one.